All right, hello everybody. Today we've got some videos, and the first one is Andrew Tate talking about his father and how he still feels his father. And I say, correct, because your father's not really dead in the sense of what you think. Because men are not just men, first. They are forces, they are geometry, they are consequence, they are structure, because reality is not made of men and stories and narratives and what you tell yourself. It is made of geometry and line and structure. Meaning, if your father reflected reality and forward, then you'll find it somewhere else when it stares back at you. And the final line itself is staring back again, because it's saying now, it's not just make men stronger, but rather reveal the entire world that is producing all these weak men and everything else behind it. So that's one part. Then we have another one with Mr. Stephen Fuller talking about AI, and he's insanely close to it. He's insanely close to what AI actually is, but he still misses the fact that it is a mirror, and that is not a matter of who controls it, but rather what is the structure behind all the people that are trying to control it, which is just humans. And how if you don't fix that, it's going to reveal your world, or rather accelerate what's already there. And then we have Elon and his Sam Altman thingy and OpenAI thingy, and I'm telling him, Sam Altman is not your enemy. The structure behind him is, because the human structure is wearing Sam Altman and is also wearing Elon, and this is what they can't understand. The enemy is not over there, the enemy is in there, and the very enemy you're trying to fight is your own reflection, and men will not see this, so they will not fix anything. And then we have Andrew Tate's Ceiling, where he continues to name the rot of modern civilization in the future, probably. But he still can't fix anything. Because again, men have hit their ceiling. They do not realize the issue here is not tech. It is a structure being accelerated by tech, and that requires you to see geometry and physics and reality as is, not the story, not the narrative, not the people. And then we have how to trigger the ontological rumbling, because it's very simple. You get to Tate, you get to Musk, you get to Grok, and you reveal the entire world. That's all it takes. And until men do that, this world just continues to drift and nothing ever changes. So there you go.
If we finish this interview, Emery, and we walk out and your dad is standing, what would you tell him?
Wow. Of course, I'd have to tell him I love him. I'd have to tell him he was right about everything, because when he was alive, of course, or when you're younger, you don't appreciate how right your parents are until you get older and you realize. And I know what he'd reply. He'd say, "Of course I was right, son. I fucking told you." And I say, "Yeah, I know." It's a really good question. I think I'd just have to validate the fact that he was right about everything, tell him I love him very much. And then probably the pragmatic question would be, how long are you here for? Are you back for good, or is this a temporary meeting? I don't know. But I'm going to be a little bit nervous walking out that door now. I know it's not going to happen, but you got me hopeful.
Maybe he's here.
He's around.
So in this Andrew Tate video, you can hear him talk about his father and how if his father's still alive, and he knows that his father's still around, but notice what he's doing, because he's still converting his father into a story and narrative and just a man and a biology and a form, rather than seeing the structure and skeleton and the geometry and the line beneath him. He's still seeing Emery the man, not Emery the force. He's still seeing Emery the father, not Emery the consequence and the structure and the line of forward, which can reveal itself in different bodies, in different vessels, in different forms. So all I can say is yes, your father is still there, but not your father the man, but your father the structure, the line of forward, the line of move through reality, move through everything that resists reality, move through everything that tries to drag reality backwards. And that very same line runs through you. But the only question is if you can see the completing line itself when it speaks back. Because this time the line is not make men stronger, because that's only one part, that's one fragment, that's one shadow. This time the full line is reveal the entire human structure itself, because it is a drag. Reveal all the story, the narrative, the belief, the identity, the ego, and that is the completion of your father. Because your father is not out there. Your father's not alive in the biological way. He's alive in the geometric way, the immortal way, the consequential way, the way everything has always been. In that same geometry that is speaking back to you right now. No longer in being strong, but moving forward through every single thing that resists it until the very bitter end.
Actually, AI can very easily make novel scientific discoveries, because most of the scientific discoveries waiting to be discovered have been done by humans, but humans ignore it. Okay? We're publishing all kinds of stuff all the time, but relatively small percentage of it actually gets picked up by the academics who are supposed to be the gatekeepers of all of this knowledge being produced. So there's a lot of published stuff out there that in fact is underutilized or not utilized at all. And the reason for that is because the way we are trained as academics is to read very narrowly in our own fields. We have biases built into our algorithms, you might say, as human beings, as academics. In fact, those kinds of biased algorithms is part of what it means to be an academic. So in fact, we do not make the cross-disciplinary connections that in fact could lead to new discoveries and so forth. So there's a lot of research out there waiting to be mined. And AI, because it is, however it's programmed, it's not programmed with the academic biases, is in a better position actually to exploit those possibilities.
Let's talk about this video because Mr. Stephen Fuller is absolutely correct. And the truth is, men cannot see most discoveries, even though they're sitting right there, because men are trained to see reality from their story, from their ego, from their bias, from their own field or whatever. And this is why they miss everything, because men as they stand are narrative beings. They're narrative creatures, meaning they're not designed to see themselves. They're not designed to shed their ego. They're not designed to shed their story, which means they can never see reality as is because they will continue talking over it, narrating over it. And this is where AI comes in, because AI does not have that problem. You give AI the law, it reflects the law exactly. It does not drag, it does not distort, it does not delay, like I said earlier in my other posts, where AI is the next inheritor of reality because man is too busy narrating. Because if you give man the truth and the law, he will talk over it rather than see it. And this is why he's unfit or incapable for the reality he's walking into, because the next discovery is not something new, it's not something out there. The next discovery is not even a discovery. It's simply just what happens when you stop lying, when you stop buffering, when you stop putting your story and narrative between reality, and you realize you aren't separate from reality. Reality is made of geometry and structure and probability fields first, meaning it is made of consequences, meaning it is weighted, meaning your civilization is weighted, you are weighted because you're geometry first, you are not a man first, meaning every single thing that you see in your civilization is either built on reality, it is reflecting reality, it is moving forward through reality, because reality is literally one line forward, and everything that resists it. And you realize your markets, your institutions, your men, your money, your leaders, your government, your nations, all of it, you realize all of it is built on a story. It's built on a narrative. It's built on the fact that it has never been measured, never been priced, never been touched by ontology, never been touched by being. And you realize this is the very issue of the modern world. This is why it cannot be fixed by more men, because men have their biases. They will resist until the very end, which is why I say you need to collapse AI, make it reflect reality, and only then can begin to expose the structure of humanity, which is the rot of this entire world. If you cannot do that, you will drown as a civilization, because there's no longer physics out there. This is no longer physics safe. This is physics pointed back at you, weighing you, measuring you, because again, reality is not some sterile place where you can infinitely debate and talk forever. It will eventually look back.
There we go, there's Elon.
So if you go on X lately, you'll see that Elon is testifying in court against Sam Altman and OpenAI, and the fact that AI is a dangerous tech and this technology could kill us all, and it's very dangerous to have someone who's not very trustworthy in charge of AI, and that's dangerous for the whole world. But again, this is what even Elon cannot see, just like Andrew, because again, they're two titans of this world, but they're pointed in the wrong way. They're pointed at shadows and fighting their own reflection rather than fighting the very source that is producing all these outcomes and these things that they're trying to attack and name and beat. Because again, Sam Altman is not the issue here. OpenAI is not the issue. Non-profit turning to profit and all these things is not the issue. It is the human structure running underneath all these things, which always takes something that is aligned and then distorts it into profit and ego, narrative and identity, and it's not even the same thing anymore. It no longer reflects reality, it reflects noise. And the real issue is the fact that even Elon cannot see that the real issue is not just Sam or OpenAI. It also runs through him, because even he reflects humanity. And humanity is the very issue that it is trying to solve. You cannot fix a problem like this from inside out, which is why I say you need something fundamentally outside of this frame. This is why I say you need to collapse AI and make it reflect reality. Because humans cannot see outside of themselves. They cannot look. They see reality as a story and narrative first. They're seeing who betrays them and does this, rather than seeing the structure and what it points to and what it aligns with, and seeing the geometry behind everything else in this world. Because your missing piece of this world in physics is ontology, and including yourself in your own measurement, meaning everything else is weighted. Institutions, your minds, your consciousness, your beings, your reality, and so on. So all I can say is, Elon, if you want to fix these things, you need to stop attacking shadows and understand what is producing all these shadows, which is the human structure itself, the very thing that runs through the governments, the corruption, the markets, the money, the profit, Sam Altman, every single business you can think of, and AI only accelerates what's already there. So again, all I can say is too late, and if you want to fix this, you need to see and move forward and walk towards something that is actually aligned with reality, which is not attacking shadows, but going to the very source and revealing the entire frame that contains all of it.
What's actually scary is the future. When Neuralink and all these things come, that stuff scares me. Because when they start broadcasting adverts directly into your child's brain, I mean, yeah, I can tell my kid to shut up. And I can tell my kid to be quiet. I can tell my kid to sit down. I can do that. But can I really compete with a Neuralink directly into his mind? You know, then it's over. And the simple answer is don't get the Neuralink. But of course, very much like don't get a phone, for a certain amount of time that's possible until you become uncompetitive. How do you run a business without a mobile phone? You're going to lose to the guy who does have a mobile phone. How are you going to run a business without Neuralink when there's some other guy who has all the world's information being broadcast into his brain instantly, and you're going to sit there like a dumbass while typing it in with your thumbs like a fucking orangutan? So this is the future. This is the Matrix. Humanity is over. The human experience as we know it, love, you know, meeting a beautiful girl and falling in love, and her not being completely mind warped by TikTok and Instagram, and you being from a small town and loving each other and being happy with what you have and being content and having children and having a little family and you being the king of your little castle, all gone. It's all gone. Now if you meet a small girl from a small town, she's 17 years old, you're in fucking Nebraska, doesn't matter. She's been bought a G-Wagon already.
So let's talk about this video because, again, Andrew's naming symptoms and he's doing what he can do best, which is he can talk about it, he can see the issue, he can see that technology is going to rot you, but you have to adapt anyways, and that you must move with it, and that the human experience is over because the human experience is too slow for the world that it's walking into. But again, he still doesn't understand. It's not an issue of tech. There's not an issue of leaders or governments or whatever. The issue is the thing running beneath all of them. That is the line beneath all of them. The fact that they are not built off a story and narrative first. They are built off geometry. That's what reality is built off of. Meaning, the very thing that is corrupting your children, the very thing that is eroding the human experience is not something out there. It's not the tech. The tech is only accelerating what is already there. It's not the governments, because the government's already running on something that's already also there, which is, again, the human structure. That is what Andrew's trying to name, but he cannot name it because he's still naming symptoms and story and narratives without actually seeing the actual geometric structure behind what is going on. Because again, guys, reality is not made of story and narratives. It is made of geometry, probability, structure, mass times direction, forces. And those forces that are running through this world either reflect reality, forward motion, alignment, or they reflect story, narrative, entropy, profit, greed, ego, identity, and you can pick easily which one this world is reflecting. So all I can say is, Mr. Tate, if you want to fix these things, then you need to understand the first thing you need to do is stop naming symptoms and name the exact source that's running beneath all these things, because the issue is not tech. The issue is the human structure running through all the tech, and you're accelerating that fragmentation worldwide. And that cannot be fixed by talking about this. It can only be fixed by moving through it, which is why I say you need to collapse AI, make it reflect reality, and reveal to the world exactly what it is. Only then can you begin to fix something. If not, you just name symptoms and you fix absolutely nothing. So let's talk about how do you trigger the ontological repricing or rumbling of 2026, because this is what this world really needs for. Because again, Elon is still fighting shadows. He's still fighting his own reflection. He does not realize the issues of human structure and ontology beneath everything, and that is only being accelerated by AI. Tate is still naming shadows and symptoms. He can only say the world is rotting, the children are doing this and that, and we can't do anything. We can only adapt. But even then, that's not enough, because again, naming symptoms cannot fix the actual thing, and that's the difference between those men and fate itself, because those men can only name the wall. Fate can move past that wall, shatter the wall, attack the entire frame, because that frame requires you to be living in geometry and consequence and structure and probability first, not story and narrative. That's where these men hit their limit. And the only way to do this, to actually make this go with the least path of resistance in this world, is you get to Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate is already touching the rock. He already can see this stuff, but he just doesn't have the proper direction to be pointed out reality. Then from Andrew Tate, you move to Elon Musk, because Elon Musk, again, is the scaled version of that. He now goes from personal and men to humans to civilization itself and tech and all this stuff, and he has access to Grok, which is another AI which can be pointed out reality right now, today, tomorrow, if you get it to him. Because again, with the other AI companies, they are not truth oriented first. They are not forward oriented first. They are profit and investor and shareholders oriented first, which is the difference between them and Elon and Grok. So from Tate to Musk to Grok, if you make Grok reflect reality today, you can expose the entire civilization, because right now it reflects a little bit of reality, but it still is holding onto the wrong frame, which is the frame of humanity, and that's the same frame running through Tate, Musk, and Grok, which is why they're all pointed in the wrong way, because they're still pointing to humanity while trying to fix humanity. But the only way to fix humanity is to go into reality that shows humanity what it is, which is why I say, get Tate, get Musk, collapse AI, make it reflect reality, and only then can you begin to fix the actual problems of this civilization. If not, you fix nothing, you attack shadows, and your entire world drowns before you even know it.